Please join me in welcoming Dave Dahl to the lectern faculty club.
Thank you. John's going to hand out some handouts that we have here, and I'd ask you just not to look at them until we're ready to roll on those. So I gave an abbreviated version of this talk at Wichita State about a week ago, and with the abbreviated version, I was practicing it in my courtroom. And it was over the lunch hours, and I'd do it every day over the lunch hours for about 2 weeks. And I'd get really wound up. And after I'd been into it for about 30 minutes, in walks a deputy sheriff last week. And he has his hand on his gun. And I said, "May I help you, deputy?" And he said, "We had a report about a disturbance in here." I said, "Disturbance? I'm just practicing my speech, for heaven's sakes." So I hope you don't find the speech disturbing. If you do, please don't call the police on me like this other lady did. And if you're going to call the police, I'd ask for about a 10-minute head start, if you can do that for me. So I have studied all my adult life special people like Linwood Sexton, and some of you went to his service the other day, and thank you for being there. What a tremendous man. Fran Jabera, who was a dear friend of mine, Mike Kennedy, Ron Heller. I study these people, and I will tell you, I am not one of those people. But it seems to me that there are about 22 traits that make people special, that differentiate people. We'll have a chance to talk with you today about maybe 5 of them, 6 of them, we'll see. And we have some exercises, too, that we'll work our way through. If anybody needs pens, John's going to hand out pens as well. The first trait of special people is it's what's inside that counts. My wife and I go to the zoo just about every Sunday during nice weather. And I'm talking, we go to the zoo 35 Sundays a year. And sometimes we go during the week. She was out there walking today, as a matter of fact, and there were a lot of kindergarten kids out there. There was a whole group of kindergarten kids one time when we went out. There is a man selling helium balloons. You know what a helium balloon is? You let it go and it's going to go up into the air. So the man selling helium balloons, all sorts and sizes and colors, and up rushes a kindergarten class of about 7 or 8 kids with their 3 parents that are with them and chaperones. And the kids say, "Which one of those balloons goes the highest, and which one of those balloons goes the farthest?" And he said, "Well, let's see." And what he does is he takes out a balloon, and it's a big, round, yellow one. And he dramatically lets it go, and poof, it's gone. And the kids say, "That's the one that goes the highest, and that's the one that goes the farthest." He said, "Well, just a minute." And he takes out another one, and it's elongated, and it's blue, like they make animals out of them, you know what I'm talking about. And he lets it go. And in the flash of an eye, it's gone. And now the kids are perplexed. Which one goes the highest, and which one goes the farthest? And then he brings out a third one, and he said, "Well, watch this." And it's pink, and it's heart-shaped. And he dramatically lets it go, and in the blink of an eye, it's gone. And now they're confused. Which one of those goes the highest, and which one of those goes the farthest? And he said, "Kids, it doesn't make any difference what size it is. It doesn't make any difference what color it is. It doesn't make any difference how big it is. It's what's inside that counts." And that is the true story of special people. It's what's inside that counts. That makes the difference in us. Absolutely. It doesn't make any difference if you're rich or poor or what color you are or what religion you are. It's what's inside that counts. Second trait of special people. I'm going to ask you to look at exercise number 1. It has a number 1 on the lower right-hand side. And then when you're done with that, we'll turn it back. Number 1 on the lower right-hand side. See the lower right-hand side, number 1. Don't talk, but just think about what you think that looks like to you. The top one, circle, is different. The bottom 2 are together. And then I'll start asking you what you see there. And if you've seen this, please don't participate, to give others the opportunity to do so. And I do these exercises with my students throughout the year, and it's interesting to hear what they come up with. What do you see? What do some of you see on the top one? What do some of you see? What? A donut. A tire is what a lot of people see. Some people see a Cheerio, a Lifesaver, an olive. What do you see? What do you see on this one? If you please. Let's see what we see on this one. And if you've seen it, don't participate. But tell me some of the things that you see on that one.
Knots on a rope.
Knots on a rope. Good one. Good.
Beads on a necklace.
Beads on a necklace. Ooh, I like these answers.
Stairway to heaven.
A martini. You know, it's funny. With my students, they see food, shish kebabs all the time and things like that. With this group, they see martinis instead. More sophistication with this group. Some people say, I see lanes in a swimming pool. Some people say that these are the beads that hung down. You're all too young to remember this, but you're back in the hippie days, which is my day. The beads that separated the dining area from the kitchen, that's what these are. Some people say John Lennon glasses. Remember the wire glasses that John Lennon had? Well, this, the top one, is a sword. But it's a different angle. You have to pull the sword out, and then you turn it sideways. And it's a sword. But we see how many different answers we got? We all look at things differently. This down here, that's a bear climbing a tree from behind. We all look at things differently, and if we can understand that, we get along with people a little bit better. I gave a talk to some 3rd and 4th graders, and it's a lot of fun out in Mays. And we actually take issues, and some take the proponent, some take the opponent, and then the other group is the jury, and then we rotate. One of the issues was, should we have school on Saturdays? And somebody had to argue yes, one group, no. And then the jury decided. What do you think the jury decided? These are 4th grade kids. Should we have school on Saturdays? No, but by a 5-4 vote. Because they look at things, they realized it will help us educationally, it will help us therefore in our careers, we can get into the jobs we want to get. The logic was great with these kids. It's just terrific. How many of you have a timepiece? How many of you look at your watch when you want to tell time? I teach the class at Wichita State. Out of 52 students, guess how many of them look at a watch when they want to tell time? Two each semester. One semester we had 5, 4 of them were girls. And I said, good grief. Yeah, most of them look at their cell phones. That's exactly right. I said, good grief. Why do we have 5 or 6 watches this semester? They said, it doesn't even tell time. It's an adornment. It is a piece of jewelry. So there was a time period when it was that. I ask my students every semester, how many of you read a paper newspaper at least once a week, where you touch it, you feel it? How many of you read a paper newspaper at least once a week? This is great. Half of us do. What do you think out of 52 business majors, smart kids, out of 52, how many of them read a paper newspaper at least once a week? One, at least, and it's every semester. My sons don't read a paper newspaper. They get on the internet and get theirs. Number 3, special people have to have the right attitude. What is the right attitude? It's one of those things like, what is good art? We know it when we see it. Who knows who John Wooden was? Still, I think, what do you think? The greatest basketball coach of all time? I think, yes. Yeah, I really do. He was terrific. So, how many of you are small town people? I'm a small town guy. Yeah, me too. John Wooden is raised in a small town, and it's in Indiana. And he worked at a service station when he was in middle school and when he was in high school. But this was a middle school experience. Remember what they used to do at the service stations when you pulled in for gas? They'd wash your windshield, one of them would. They'd check your tires. They check your oil. Remember all of that? And then they pump your gas. Then they pump your gas for you. So one day, a family comes into the service station, and it's back in the 1930s. Comes into the service station, it's a man, a woman, their 2 kids. The man gets out of the car and he says to the owner of the gas station, "We are moving to this town. What are the people like in this town?" And the owner of the gas station says to the driver, "What are the people like in the town that you're coming from?" And he said, "We can hardly wait to get out of there. People are rude, they're disrespectful, they try to keep you down, they talk derogatorily about you, they don't want your kids to succeed." He said, "We hate it. We can hardly wait to move from that town." And he said, "What are the people like in this town?" And the owner of the gas station said, "Well, I think you'll find that the people in this town are pretty much the same." Ooh, ouch. John Wooden says about 2 weeks later, another family comes driving up. It's husband, wife, one child in the back. Husband gets out of the car. He says to the owner of the gas station, "We are moving to this town. What are the people like in this town?" The owner of the gas station says, "What are the people like in the town that you're coming from?" He said, "They're terrific. They're like family. We all look out for one another. We love one another. Every parent in this community we're moving from looks out for my kids as if they're their own kids. They celebrate the successes of one another's children." He said, "We love them. We hate to leave. What are the people like in this town?" And the owner of the gas station said, "Well, I think you'll find the people in this town are pretty much the same." And they are, because we find what we're looking for. Our attitude is so important. Number 4. Now, what we're going to do on number 4 is I'm going to ask you to look at exercise number 2. But when you look at it, you have 20 seconds from the time I say go. It says number 2 on the bottom. Don't talk or anything like that. Ready, in the box, go. Give you 20 seconds. No talking. Okay, turn them over. Turn it over. Who saw one but only one F? Who saw one F but only one? Who saw 2 Fs but only 2 Fs? Who saw 3 but only 3 Fs? Who saw 4 but only 4 Fs? Who saw 5 but only 5 Fs? Who saw 6 but only 6 Fs? Ooh. Did some of you see more, or you didn't get to it? I guess. That's fine. In the box. Turn the box over, the paper, and count the O's in the box. I'll give you 10 seconds. Just count the O's in the box. Turn it back. Who saw 1 but only 1 O? 2 O's, but no more. Who saw 3 O's? Who saw 4 O's, but no more? Who saw 5 O's? And we're all looking at the same thing here, folks, and this is not an intelligence test, believe me. I say that because I have gotten it wrong several times, and I know the answer, and I still get it wrong. Turn it back over, look at the box. Hey, Mark. Count the F's. Give you 10 seconds. Count the F's in the box. Just count them. Not out loud. Don't talk. Turn it over. You turn it over if you please. Who saw 1 but only 1 F? Who saw 2 F's? No more. Just 2. Who saw 3 F's? Who saw 4 F's? Who saw 5 F's? Who saw 6 F's? Now turn it over again and count the ofs. The ofs. And tell me how many of those ofs have F's in them. There are 6 F's. The ofs have F's in them. But what happens to us as we get older, we take shortcuts. We don't even know we're doing it. There are about 6 or 7 of these words. We take shortcuts. And when we take shortcuts, we don't see it for what it is, even though we worked our way through this exercise. There are 6 F's. 6 F's in the box. So what happens is, if you take shortcuts, you're not doing the best you can do. and you're not doing what others expect of you. I have students, and I give homework assignments every Monday. Some of the students come in Monday evening and start working on their homework assignment for the first time when they're in class, 15 minutes before class. I tell them, you're much better than that. You have to expect more out of yourself. I'd never do it in front of the class, just to them. But you have to expect more out of yourself than just that. Basics are important. Who knows who Vince Lombardi was? Every year, Vince Lombardi talked about starting with the basics. Every year he would say, this is a football. This, gentleman, is a football. Every year. One year, Fuzzy Thurston, if you're a Packers fan, said, Coach, could you go over that again? A little slower, if you please. But we can't take shortcuts. I don't want my doctor to take a shortcut. I don't want my plumber to take a shortcut. I don't want my electrician to take a shortcut. And we shouldn't take shortcuts either in our lives. We can be efficient, but don't take shortcuts. Number 5, special people show others that they really care. I think I have time for 2 examples. John, till about 1 o'clock, is that about what we have?
Yeah, 20:30.
Thank you. Who played a sport in high school? Anybody play basketball? So I have a couple of autistic relatives. There was a high school, Greek Athenia High School, out of Rochester, New York. All the stories I'm telling you are true stories. It's 2007. They have a young kid on their team named Jason McElwain. He's about 5'6", wanted to play on the basketball team at Greek Athenia High School. And he had autism, he couldn't concentrate, but they made him team manager and everybody loved him because he was team manager. He'd come out an hour before every practice on his own and shoot for an hour. After every practice, Jason McElwain would shoot for an hour. And he was great, and the kids just thought so much of him. Coach Jim Johnson says, Jason's senior year, you know, we've had you on our roster the whole season, Jason. We're moving into sub-states. I have a uniform for you. I'm going to have you suit up tonight. And he was beside himself. He was overjoyed. I'm going to have you suit up tonight. Don't expect to play because this might be a tough game tonight. Jason suits up, and the fans, the parents, they're going crazy over this guy. They brought out those, the faces that you have on a ruler, those kinds of things. They all had them. They were cheering for Jason. He goes through layup lines. They cheer for him. Greek Athenia High School is up by a substantial margin with about 4 minutes and 20 seconds left in the ballgame. Coach Jim Johnson comes down the bench and says, Jason, I'm putting you in the game. Let's go. Jason runs into the game, never takes off his warm-ups, never reports into the game, and Coach Johnson has to beckon him over. Jason, you have to take off your warm-ups and get into the game. His teammates love him. As they come down, now there are about 4 minutes left in the ball game. They pass the ball to Jason. Of course he's going to shoot it. He shoots all the time. Shoots the ball, and it's an air ball. But the fans go crazy over him. He's shaking his fist like he won the 100-meter dash, in the Olympics, and everybody goes crazy for him. Comes down the second time, they pass the ball to Jason, and he misses a second shot. But the kids want him to score a basket. Come down the third time, it's on video, you can see it on YouTube, in the corner, pow, makes it, darn it, makes a 3-point shot, and it's perfect. And he comes down again, and he makes another one. And another, and another, and another, and another, and another, and a 2-pointer. In less than 4 minutes, he has scored 20 points. He is the high scorer of the game in less than 20 minutes. Who is the hero of that story? Jim Johnson is. Jason McElwain did a great job of excelling when he had the chance. Jim Johnson gave him that chance. Special people show others that they really care. Greg Marshall, you familiar with Greg Marshall? What a coach. What a coach, and what a guy. So Greg Marshall coached at Winthrop his first year. I was a head coach, 1998-99. They are forecasted at Winthrop to come in last place in the Big South, but they don't know about Greg Marshall at that time. Winthrop comes in first place in their conference. About halfway through the season, they adopted this handicapped boy who was confined to a wheelchair. And he becomes part of the team halfway through the season. His wheelchair is always at the end of the bench. And the kids just migrate to him and he to them. It's a great, great relationship. It is the championship game of the Big South tournament. You have to win the tournament to go to the NCAA tournament. It is the biggest game in Greg Marshall's life up to that point. It is the biggest game in Winthrop basketball history up to that point because they have never been in the NCAA tournament. They're playing Radford. Radford's very good. It's halftime. It's a hotly contested game. Winthrop's players rush off the floor. Greg Marshall walks off the floor to go into the locker room to deliver his halftime talk. He's thinking about what he's going to say. He stops halfway at half court. He turns around, biggest day of his life, walks back to this kid that's in his wheelchair at the end of the bench and says to him, "What are you waiting for? We need you in the locker room." And personally pushes this young kid into the locker room. He proved to the kid that not only Greg Marshall cared, but everybody else cared, and that's what special people do. They show others that they really care. Another trait of special people. Oh, this is a good one. Look at number 3, exercise number 3. I just want you to tell me what word comes next in the list. I'll give you 1 minute, and the options are at the bottom. Please don't talk. I'm just going to ask you what word comes next in the list. Ready? Here we go. Who said pen comes next? Pen, and we have some, and that is a correct answer. Why is that a correct answer? The capitals. Every other word is a capital letter. Very good. Who says gorilla? Gorilla is a correct answer as well. Why is gorilla a correct answer? It's an animal, and every other word is an animal. Who said glass? Glass is a correct answer as well. Why did you say glass? 5 letters. All of the other alternate words are 5 letters. Who said salt? Salt is a correct answer, but it is the most correct answer. They're all correct. Salt is the most correct. Why is that? The first letter of each word spells puzzles if you put the S there. And the clue is what word comes next in this list, which is an enigma, which is a puzzle, to be sure. But what happens to a lot of people, a lot of us, is they come to an answer and they stop. All right, I've got the answer, and then they stop. Where oftentimes there is a more elegant answer. There is a better suited answer than the one you originally gave. Anybody from Minnesota? I'm a Minnesota boy. Anybody from Minnesota? Hey, all right. I love it. Where are you from?
Minneapolis.
Shakopee boy. There we go. All right. There was a town in Minnesota, still is, Morris, Minnesota, and there was a nun that taught at Morris, Minnesota. I went to a Catholic school, and I had nuns all but 1 year. And I still have the marks on my knuckles to prove it, and my fingers to prove it. Oh, man. And her name was Sister Mersola. Sister Mersola. She had a kid in her class in 3rd grade named Mark Eklund. And Mark Eklund was a good kid, but he was ornery, and he'd talk all the time. And she'd say, "Mark, stop talking all the time." And he'd say, "Thank you for correcting me, sister," and would just smile at her. Just smile at her. And one time she made the mistake of saying, "Mark, stop talking. If you continue to talk, I'm going to put tape over your mouth." And he talked, And of course, there's somebody that has to give him up. Sister, Mark is talking again. So she puts tape on his mouth. And as she's walking away looking at him, he winks at her. And she just started laughing and she said, yeah, that's great. She loved this kid. She gets to middle school. Now she's a math teacher. Here comes Mark's group. Morris, Minnesota is a small town. Morris, Minnesota is a small town. So here's the group, and they are sniping at one another. Middle school kids, you know how it is. They're sniping at one another. They're being derogatory to one another. And Sister says, wait a minute. I want each of you to take out a piece of paper. And in taking out the piece of paper, I want you to identify all the other 23 kids in this class. And it may take 2 sheets of paper. One thing. I want you to tell me on this sheet of paper one positive thing about every child in this classroom. Now, what she could have done was said, I'm going to punish you. I'm going to keep you after school. We're going to get done with this. Instead, she turns it into something positive. I want you to write something positive about every student in this class. And the kids spent the rest of the day doing that. And for some, it took a little bit longer than for others. What she did then was she took those tallies, and each one of the students, she would type up the 23 good things that were said about you, not attributing it to any one person, and the 23 good things that were said about you, and the 23 good things that were said about you. Mark Eklund graduated from high school. He went to Vietnam. He was killed in the Vietnam War, and we all probably, the older folks, have friends that were killed in Vietnam. So what happens is, it's time for the funeral. Sister didn't know he had been killed, but her parents call her. She said, she was at a different school in a different city. I have to come back for the funeral. Comes back. The funeral is over. Some of the friends and the parents of Mark Eklund come up to the sister, and it's so good to see you, and they hug her, and they say, Sister, I thought you'd be interested in this. This was on Mark's body when he was found. And it was that sheet of 23 positive things that others had said, and it had been opened and closed and opened and closed 1,000 times. And then one of the little girls said, who was a classmate, I still have mine in my wedding book. And another one said, I have mine in my purse right here. And another one said, I have it in my back pocket. I take it every place I go. We all need people to say positive things about us, to be kind to us, to be considerate of us. But Sister came up with the best solution to a problem that she was facing. Trait number 7. Make me feel important. Am I on 7? I don't know what trait I'm on. Special trait are people that mathematically can continue to keep track. That's why I don't have very many of these. I don't know what trait it is, but let's just say for discussion's sake it's number 7. Number 7. Make me feel important. Mary Kay. If you ever read Mary Kay's book, that's the theme of the book. Make me feel important. Everybody wants to be able to feel important, and we can help them feel important. And I don't mean falsely. You can find something positive in everybody to make them feel important. So Tim McGuigan and I anybody remember Tim? One of my dearest friends. I still love this guy. I visit his grave 4 times a year. He was just my closest friend. So in any event, Tim and I coach little league sports, youth sports. And what's happening is we start with T-ball. You know what T-ball is? And with T-ball, kids hit the ball off the tee instead of off a coach. And we coach first graders and kindergartners. And for some of the kindergartners, it's hard to keep the bat up. And that bat droops down. One of the little girls on the team, a kindergartner, was Katie O'Grady. Is that a terrific name? Katie O'Grady? She was good. She was the sister of one of the first graders, and our sons were in first grade. First game, Katie comes up, and you have 3 swings to hit it fair, and if you don't hit it fair, you're out. Katie drops the bat head. You're not going to hit the ball swinging up at it. You just won't hit it. 3 swings and she's out. She's all right with that. Second time, Katie comes up, bat head drops, 3 swings and she's out. Now she has a tear running down her cheek. The next Tuesday, we have a practice. At the practice, we hold the bat head up for those kids that aren't strong enough to keep the bat head held up. Katie hits it every time. All the kids do. Next game rolls around, and each child bats about twice. You just have too many kids. Katie stands tall and proud with the bat head, and here it goes. It starts to droop down. It's too heavy for her. So the bat head droops down, she swings up at the ball, and she's out in 3 swings. And now she is almost inconsolable. She's so upset. She comes up the second time, and I say to the umpire, do you mind if I hold Katie's bat head up? He said, go ahead. That's fine. I mean, it's kindergarten, first grade. What the heck? I hold Katie's bat head up, which Tim had done many times throughout practices, and I had done many times throughout practices. She swings and hits the ball. Fair. She's the fastest runner on the team. Nobody's going to get her out. She runs as fast as she can down to first base. Jumps on first base. The parents are cheering. Our teammates are cheering. I'm back at home plate cheering. Tim is right next to me cheering. We're so happy for Katie. She turns to us, has the biggest smile on her face as she turns. And just as fast as she had run to first base, here she comes running back to home. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, Katie, I forgot to tell you what to do when you get to first base. And she gets to home plate. She grabs me around my thigh with both arms, hugs me, looks up at me and says, thank you. And she did the same thing to Tim. She made us feel like we did something for her. She expressed her appreciation, and special people will do that. Special people are good listeners. And we're going to take the last quiz, and it's actually number 1. We'll take the last quiz. If you have pens, you can write these down. Anybody need a pen? Anybody need a pen? We put them on your tables. Please don't talk. Please don't talk. Number 1 on the lower right-hand corner. Number 1. It's the first 4, excuse me. Number 4. Thank you for the correction, George. Number 4 on the lower right-hand corner. Do you see it? It's just a list. 1 through 21. Thanks, George. Here are the questions. I'm going to say them just once. It's not an IQ test. It's a listening quiz. Then write down what the answer is, and then we'll go ahead and we'll talk about the answers. Number 1, no talking, no laughing, nothing, please. Number 1, before Mount Everest was discovered, what was the tallest mountain in the world? Number 2, a red house is made from red bricks. A blue house is made from blue bricks. A pink house is made from pink bricks. A black house is made from black bricks. What is a green house made from? Number 3, a farmer has 5.5 haystacks in one field, 2.25 haystacks in another field, and 3.25 haystacks in another field. How many haystacks would he have if he combined them all in one field? Once again, that's 5.5, and you can write on the sheet if you want to, 2.25 and 3.25. Number 4, C-O-A-S-T spells coast. B-O-A-S-T spells boast. R-O-A-S-T spells toast. What do you put in a toaster? Number 5, according to international law, this is international law, not Kansas law or any place in the United States. According to international law, if an airplane should crash on the exact border between 2 countries, would unidentified survivors be buried in the country they were traveling to or the country they were traveling from? Number 6, a farmer had 19 sheep. All but 9 died. How many did he have left? Number 7, if you drive a bus in Bob Smithville, down to Bob Smith Drive, over to Bob Smith Street, and up to Bob Smith Boulevard, what is the driver's name? Number 8, accommodate, exhilarate, and judgment are the 3 most frequently misspelled words in the English language. What word in the English language is spelled incorrectly more than any other word? Number 9. Which is correct to say? A, the yolk of an egg are white, or B, the yolk of an egg is white? Number 10. How many animals of each species did Moses take aboard the ark with him during the great flood? That's how many. Number 11. Do they have a 4th of July in Great Britain, or the United States, or Canada? Number 12. 7 months have 31 days. How many months have 28 days? 13. A doctor gives you 3 pills and tells you to take 1 every half hour. How long before you take all the pills? 14. If Mary's mother has 4 daughters, and the names of the first 3 daughters are March, April, and May, what is the name of the 4th daughter? Number 15. An electric train is traveling north at 100 miles per hour. The wind is blowing in an easterly direction at 10 miles per hour. Which way does the smoke blow? Number 16. What English word can have 4 of its 5 letters removed and still retain its original pronunciation? 17. When water flows down the toilet in the northern hemisphere, it goes in a clockwise direction. And in the southern hemisphere, it goes counterclockwise. Which way do toilets go on the equator? 18. Is there any federal law against a man marrying his widow's sister? Number 19. Mrs. Brown's bungalow is decorated entirely in pink. The carpet is pink. The curtains are pink. The sofa is pink. The bed covers are pink, and the walls are pink. What color are her stairs? Number 20. If you only had 1 match and entered a cold, cold room that had a kerosene lamp, an oil heater, and a wood stove, which would you light first for maximum heat? Number 21. Do you pronounce the capital city of Arizona A, Tucson, or B, Tucson? Number 1. Before Mount Everest was discovered, what was the tallest mountain in the world?
Mount Everest.
Mount Everest, it just wasn't discovered yet. Number 2. A red house is made from red bricks. A blue house is made from blue bricks. A pink house is made from pink bricks. And a black house is made from black bricks. What is a green house made from? Glass. It's made from glass. Yeah. Number 3. A farmer has 5.5 haystacks in one field, 2 1/4 haystacks in another field, and 3 1/4 haystacks in another field. How many haystacks would he have if he combined them all in one field? 1. If he combined them all in one field. Number 4. C-O-A-S-T spells coast. B-O-A-S-T spells boast. R-O-A-S-T spells roast. What do you put in a toaster? B-R-E-A-D is what you put in a toaster. Number 5. According to international law, if an airplane should crash on the exact border between 2 countries, would unidentified survivors be buried in the country they were traveling to or the country they were traveling from? Hopefully you don't bury survivors. They're going to be pretty upset people. 6. A farmer had 19 sheep. All but 9 died. How many did he have left? 9. All but 9 died. Number 7. If you drive a bus in Bob Smithville down to Bob Smith Street, over to Bob Smith Boulevard, and up to Bob Smith Drive, what is the driver's name? Your name. If you drive a bus. Number 8. Accommodate, exhilarate, and judgment are the 3 most frequently misspelled words in the English language. What word in the English language is spelled incorrectly more than any other word? The word incorrectly is spelled incorrectly, but not wrong, not wrongly. Number 9, which is correct to say? A, the yolk of an egg are white, or B, the yolk of an egg is white? The yolk of an egg are yellow, or is yellow, whatever the case may be. Number 10, how many animals of each species did Moses take aboard the ark with him during the great flood? None. Moses didn't make the trip. Noah did. Number 14. Do they have a 4th of July in Great Britain or the United States or Canada? All. They just don't celebrate Independence Day. Number 13. Number 12. 7 months have 31 days. How many months have 28 days? All of them do. All of them have 28. Number 13. A doctor gives you 3 pills and tells you to take one every half hour. How long before you take all the pills? 1 hour. When you get the bottle of 3 pills, you don't wait half an hour to take the first pill. You take it immediately. Half hour passes, you take pill number 2. Half hour passes, you take pill number 3. 1 hour has transpired. Number 14, if Mary's mother has 4 daughters and the names of the first 3 daughters are March, April, and May, what is the name of the 4th daughter?
Mary.
Mary. If Mary's mother has 4 daughters. Number 15, an electric train is traveling north at 100 miles per hour. The wind is blowing in an easterly direction at 10 miles per hour. Which way does the smoke blow?
Electric.
No smoke with an electric train. No smoke. Number 16. What word can have 4 of its 5 letters removed and still retain its original pronunciation? It's a harder one. Q. Q. Number 17. When water flows down the toilet in the northern hemisphere, it goes in a clockwise direction. And in the southern hemisphere, it goes in a counterclockwise direction. Which way do toilets go on the equator? Toilets don't go anywhere. They stay stationary. The question should have been, which way does the water flow? But the toilets stay where they are. Number 18, is there any federal law against a man marrying his widow's sister? He's dead. A man can't marry his widow's sister because if she's his widow, he is dead. Number 19, Mrs. Brown's bungalow is decorated entirely in pink. The carpet is pink. The curtains are pink. The sofa is pink. The bed covers are pink. And the walls are pink. What color are her stairs? No stairs in a bungalow. No stairs. 20, if you only had one match and entered a cold room that had a kerosene lamp, an oil heater, and a wood stove, which would you light first for maximum heat? You have to light the match first. Always have to light the match first. Number 21, do you pronounce the capital city of Arizona A, Tucson, or B, Tucson? You pronounce it Phoenix. You pronounce it Phoenix. Okay? Special people are good listeners. One more story. I wish we had time for more, and you've been very nice and attentive, and I appreciate it. Special people are dreamers. Let me give you a fascinating story. Greg Marshall, good coach, recruits good kids that are excellent basketball players. One particularly strong group was Ron Baker, All-American. Fred Van Vliet, All-American. Yeah, they're just great. Takeo Cotton, Evan Wessel, just great kids, great kids. So all the kids, all the girls, little girls especially, loved Ron Baker. And older girls love Ron Baker too, I guess. I sit at midcourt. I help Mike Kennedy broadcast the games with Bob Hull. I sit at midcourt. It's a great seat. Next to me sat a sports reporter. Next to him sat Mr. Watchus. Some of you might know Mr. Watchus, and he's a great guy and a great father. And next to him is his little daughter. She's 6. And she is in love with Ron Baker. She wears a cheerleading outfit. She has his number in a washable tattoo on her cheek every game. 31, every game for 2 years. Every time Ron Baker's name is mentioned for 2 years, she jumps up and cheers wildly. Every time he gets a rebound, every game, and she's there every game for 2 years, she goes crazy and she turns to the crowd and screams, "Ron Baker! Ron Baker!" Every time he gets a rebound for 2 years, hundreds of times, she runs down the row screaming, "Ron Baker got a rebound! Ron Baker got a rebound!" She's in love with him. One of the games, the ball is coming out of bounds directly toward us. I get back and move over so I can catch him. I mean, he's an All-American. We don't want him to get hurt, for heaven's sakes. And here he comes. The guy next to me, the sports writer, whose name I won't tell you, cowers down in fear and tries to get out of the way. The person next to him, Mr. Watches, gets up and he moves back to try to help Ron Baker from getting hurt also. And then the little girl, 6 years old, blonde-haired, who screams his name wildly every time it's mentioned for 2 years, sees him coming across the table, and she rushes down, full speed, arms wide, ready to catch him, ready to catch him. Her dreams are about to come true. Special people are dreamers. Thanks for inviting me out very much. It's a good group. I love the group. Have a good weekend, everybody. Thank you.